Aloha everyone. We're going to give it a few minutes to let everybody join in that's going to want to join in. And then we will get started with the live stream July 25th, 2020, 11 p.m. Hurricane Douglas Advisory Update. And for everyone that's already here, I will tell you this. There's been some changes. Some actual important changes, to be honest. Aloha, Lego Master. Eugene, aloha. Aloha, Stephanie, David. David, you know, it's kind of interesting here on the Big Island. I'm not sure where you are. We've gotten, you know, some wind, anything serious. It's just been a wonderfully breezy day and evening so far. I had one little rain shower about maybe an hour ago. Aloha, Jan. Aloha, Karen. Thank y'all for joining. I do appreciate y'all's help. Looks like we've got another Eugene. Hi from South Africa. So where are you, David Allen? Are you on the Big Island or one of the other islands? Aloha, Nancy. Oh, you're up in Volcano. Okay. You're probably not going to really see much of anything. I mean, I think what I'm seeing now is probably going to be about the most of it for us over here. But that may change a little bit. So I guess what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and get into the report. So the first thing we're going to look at, Aloha, Francis. So I will be, of course, from this point forward, not paying a lot of attention to chat. So mods, if people have questions, if you can answer them, I'd appreciate that. But if not, I will pick them up here in just a few minutes. So what we're looking at here is, of course, the forecast cone. And I found out how to do something without having to use the freaking button up there. So yeah, I figured out how to zoom in and out with keyboard. So, okay, what we're looking at here is the forecast cone, and it is now forecasted that this storm looks like it's going to definitely pass over Oahu and Kauai. So anyone up in those islands, you might definitely want to take a look at your current conditions and expected future conditions. So the reason why is in the report. So let's go ahead and take a look at the advisory itself. Okay. So we will skip down to the general outlook. First, start off with there has been some changes to the advisory, and that is the tropical storm warning for Kauai County has been upgraded to a hurricane watch. So just to be on the lookout for that. In the discussion and lookout section of the advisory report by the National Weather Service, we start off basically at 11 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. Of course, the center of Hurricane Douglas was located by a reconnaissance aircraft. So I believe this may indicate this is one of the first times they've sent a reconnaissance aircraft out there, Hurricane Huntercraft, to take physical measurements of storm versus relying on satellite data and other remote sensor information. So anyways, the reconnaissance aircraft discovers that the storm was near the latitude 2.4 north and longitude 152.8 west, and Douglas is moving towards the west-northwest near 16 miles an hour. So it has started kind of making a westerly turn, which was something I would hope we would see later versus sooner. And this general motion is expected to continue for the next couple days. On the forecast track, Douglas will pass dangerously close to the main Hawaii Islands on Sunday, that being Maui, Oahu, and Kauai. The Big Island seems like it's going to be avoiding this one. Maximum sustained winds are near 90 miles an hour or 150 kilometers per hour with higher gusts as well. There is some slow weakening forecasted during the next 48 hours, but Douglas is forecasted to remain near hurricane intensity as it passes the islands, necessitating a hurricane warning for Kauai County. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 25 miles an hour or 35 kilometers from the center, and tropical storm force winds, that's a hard one sometimes, extend outward up to 105 miles or 165 kilometers. And the estimated minimum central pressure is 983 millibars or 29.03 inches. And just to make note, that is actually went up 1 point at 2 p.m. It was 982 millibars and 29.00 inches. So we've had a 1 millibar increase in pressure. That doesn't really mean much in the overall context of the storm, but if that number was to continue rising and more rapidly, that would definitely indicate that the storm is starting to break down. So let's go take a look at this map again, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so everybody can get a nice good look. What we're looking at here is, of course, the prediction cone, and showing that earlier today, actually, let's do this real quick. I got this trapped on Google Earth so that I wouldn't lose. This is from the, this is actually the 8 p.m. Yes, this is the 8 p.m. Mid-level advisory, and the track was pretty much still the same. The eye was going to be just north of pretty much all the islands, except for Kauai was going to get a little bit of it perhaps. But as you can see in the new track, that has changed. This is Oahu right here, and this is of course Kauai here, and you see that has actually, that track line has moved south. I wouldn't say significantly, but significant enough that it definitely needs to be paid attention to. So that indicates that the storm has made that slight westerly turn. And looking at the, let me refresh just to make sure I've got any new data. Looking at the surface charts for the air pressure, we want central, there it is. I don't think it's been updated. Oh, it has been updated. Okay, good. So what we're seeing here in the pressure charts, and I can zoom that in nicely. We're looking at the high pressure ridge here, and that other high pressure system that was suspected on developing, to the west of this ridge, looks like it is developed. So that creates this entire northernly blocking high pressure ridge system for this hurricane, which means that it is possible that over the next 48 hours, this hurricane may actually make a little bit further turn towards the west. I'm not sure what the officials are actually thinking on that one, but it kind of looks like the case. Now the question is as it goes by the islands or interacts with the landmass, how is it going to react? When it starts interacting, when the main outer bands and stuff of the storm start interacting with some of the islands, it's going to cause some disruption. And I know in the 5 p.m. report I showed that last satellite image of the storm. It looked like we had some upwelling in the convection currents for the cloud tops isolated just around the center of the storm. I've watched that, and they've kind of stabled out a little bit, but it does look like the eye has reformed a little bit. And I do believe they currently have this storm classified as a Category 1. So, moving on, high pressure ridge system. So that's gonna influence it to move more westerly versus north. Now it is possible that this high pressure system could break off, or the new one right here, could break off from the main ridge and create a low pressure trough between the two. I really don't know. I'm not a, a meteorologist in that respect. I only look at the data and can interpret, the present to just the near future, and don't fully understand all of it. But I do know it's possible that these pressure systems can break up and low pressure troughs can run through them, because that's usually what storm systems like to do. They like to run between the pressure systems. But anyways, so yeah, that's that one. Now let's go take a look at some of. Let me zoom out. Not that far. Let's go take a look at some of the radar image. This is we're going to shorten that up a little bit to the last 60 frames. This is the RGB sandwich composite. And see all that red right there? Just as night was approaching, we saw that upwelling in the convection of it. But now it's actually disrupted. So that's good. It looks like in the satellite imagery, we're starting to see some upper level shear occurring. Actually, let me go to this one right here. Okay. Okay, let me find. Oh, I have no control over that. Fine. We'll do it the harder way. Okay, we'll do the geo color. Okay, we're going to stop it here on the most recent image. And we're going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. The one thing that we see right here is we're starting to see some disorganization, actually. Look how messy the northern quadrants of the storm is. That's because there's some upper level interaction, it looks like, kind of shearing the tops off a little bit, kind of blowing them out a little bit, but it's weak. It's not a very strong shear at this point, but that's probably going to increase over the next 24 hours. And you see here, we can't even really tell where the center of circulation is just on the static image. So to find out, let's go ahead and watch the loop. Actually, I'm going to add some more frames into it, just so we can get an idea of where it was. Okay, there it is. And so it kind of looks like, see that satellite adjustment when it jumps. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. And I'm gonna have to zoom out for a minute so I can see enough of everything. Okay, so there's the center of circulation. Still right there. It's moved a little. And you can also see how it's taken more of a westerly turn. There it is there. So it's right there. And that's where it jumps. Okay, so I believe it's right there. So if I follow that along, yeah, oh, interesting. It's hard to tell for sure, but it looks like right here may be the center of circulation now. And if that be the case, you can see that there's been an interaction here. And that kind of looks like what the Big Island does. Because if we go back to daytime, you see how these clouds are literally slapping up against Mauna Kea right there and creating that line. That causes a disruption in the rotation of the storm, and hurricanes don't like that. That's why when they move over land, over in the Atlantic area, the Caribbean, Florida, etc., it's why they tend to drop out and weaken and disorganize very quickly, is because of all that friction under them. It messes up that circular rotation. So it does look like the Big Island may be having a little bit of effect on it there. So yeah, that's pretty much it at this point. Not a lot of major changes. We do have that westerly turn. It was kind of moving this way. Now it's kind of moving a little bit more this way. So the question really ultimately comes down to when and where. It's obviously as close as it is to the islands now. It would have to be a very aggressive northerly turn to miss at least Maui and possibly Oahu. And I don't see that happening with that high pressure ridge. This high pressure ridge right here. I don't see that happening because the storm can't turn, up into that. It can only go, to the west, north, the west, northwest, but not a lot, because the further north it travels, even across the islands here, the higher it moves into higher pressure areas, and it's not going to want to do that. So ultimately, at some point, until something happens with this high pressure ridge, whether it's moving north, shrinking its diameters, or moving to the east, this storm is going to want to continue to favor a west-northwest pattern, in my opinion, of course. So that is that. So let me find a nice, wonderful, let's go to, I like the water vapor mid-level because it really lets you take a good look at what all the currents in the atmosphere are doing. And there's the storm right there. So you can see how close it's gotten to Hawaii. And if the eye is where we kind of think it is, pause it there. If the eye is anywhere right here in this area, then it's actually north or on the northern latitude of the Big Island itself. So yeah, Big Island I think is pretty much seeing most of what it's going to see, except for maybe some of the northeastern coast and the northern tip. They're probably going to see a little bit more rain. So basically, further north you are on the Big Island at this point, the more wind and potential rain you'll see. Whether you're seeing any now or not, or seeing any right now or anything, really isn't the question. We've got to wait for these bands to, these bands right here as they come moving in. And I expect that the Hamakua coast is seeing little isolated rain showers, a little bit of gusty winds, but nothing that would seem out of the ordinary for a storm out in the ocean. But this is getting closer, and the closer it gets, actually, let's move to the end. Of course, it wants to restart. We don't want it to restart. Okay, so unfortunately, with nighttime coming, our cloud view, is obscured a little bit. But what we can see really good right here is this band of showers, and that's what hurricanes do. And here's another band of it over here, and this one right here. So again, you see all this turbulent-looking stuff over here. That's kind of being caused by that high pressure system a little bit. I think that's where the wind shear is coming from. I've been looking for information on that, and I can't quite seem to find what I'm looking for on that one. So I'll continue looking after this stream, doing my research, and so hopefully tomorrow with one of the updates I'll do, I'll have what I was looking for. But also, that reminds me, there's something I wanted to show y'all. Let's see if, it won't let me zoom in as far as I want. Okay, so hopefully y'all can see it on your screen. The color contrast is enough, but looking here at the Big Island, and of course looking here at Oahu. First, we'll start here on Oahu so you know what you're looking for on the Big Island. If you look here on the southern shore, this orange yellow color, while everything else is purple with the white outline, that orange and yellow color is basically the lights being produced by Honolulu and Pearl Harbor area, and those areas right there. So that's all basically the street lights and light pollution. And if you look here on the Big Island, we've got a couple dots like that too. There's a tiny one over here on the Kona side, and then you've got this one up here in Hilo, and then I think this one here in the middle may be Volcano, and this one right here, I'm not real sure. That's not Pahoa, because Pahoa would be up here. I'm not sure where that be. That might be Curtistown or something like that. I could be wrong. It's hard to tell, with this resolution and from this altitude. So yeah, so I thought that was cool. Actually, you can even see it here on Maui. There's a couple of dots in there as well. Kauai, though, looks pretty dark. So yeah, so I just thought I'd point that out. I thought it was something interesting to see. Oops. There we go. So now it's time for the best part. Well, if you want to call it that, is to go back and look at some of the comments. If you had a question that didn't get answered, or you would like to get a question answered, of course, now will be the time to put it in the live chat, and I will be more than happy to answer it if I can. Okay, I don't see anything popping out right in hand, or right offhand. Yeah, Jan, I do believe Kauai is going to get wet. Oahu as well. You know, this, I'll be honest with you, this probability cone really kind of concerns me for Oahu and Kauai. If it stays on this current track, they're going to see the worst that this storm has in it at this point. I mean, it could weaken down to a tropical, system by the time it got to them, because it's going to start interacting with land masses. The Big Island, northern coast, Maui, and the other islands surrounding Maui. And as that happens, it's going to, of course, break the storm up a little bit, weaken it, etc. Did Noi just pop in? Noi! Aloha! She says, Charles, do you think tomorrow at 9 a.m. will be clear? Yes and no. I'm not real sure. See, this is where I'm having the problem with hurricanes here in Hawaii. Is I know how the storms would normally interact with land masses over, Gulf of Mexico, Bahamas, South Caribbean, etc. But I'm still learning how they interact here with the land masses in Hawaii. I know the Big Island, because of the mountains, does have an effect on these storms. But I haven't experienced enough here to see from personal observation, so I'm looking at historical observation, but finding satellite maps and radar loops and things like that of some of the historical stuff is a little bit more challenging. So I haven't really put that much energy into it. So with each storm, I'm learning a little bit too. So Noi, I would say it's probable, but the storm hasn't quite got here. I will know probably more by the 5 a.m. advisory. I think that's the one we need to look at. That one's really going to tell us for certain what the Big Island is going to experience for tomorrow. And it's also going to tell us what's going to happen with Maui, Oahu, and Kauai. So, sorry I can't answer your question, Noi. But I don't even think the weatherman could answer that question at this point. Frostex, JLo, first, I'm not sure how you pronounce your username, but for the one asking the question, will Oahu have any major storm surge? Yes. But it depends on what you classify as major. I think they're predicting storm surges of 2 to 4 feet on top of normal tide levels. So any coastal areas, beach areas, anything that's down there at ocean level is going to, have some water coming in. The storm surge is also determined by the wind strengths, because it's the wind coming out of the northeast quadrant of the storm that usually pushes the storm surges. So I would be prepared for storm surge. If this hurricane stays on this current track, there's definitely going to be some storm surge as it approaches. There's no doubt about that, especially on the North Shore area. The southern shores probably will be fine, and the eastern shores, or the western shores as well, but the east and north shores on Oahu, I would believe would have some storm surge issues. Yes, David. Kauai is supposed to get the strongest wind. At this rate, it looks like the eye of the hurricane will pass over Kauai for sure. The question at this point, until the suggested track changes, is just how strong will the winds and the storm be when that happens. Yeah, so anyone right now on Maui, Oahu, Kauai, or any of the surrounding islands that are at low elevations or are already prone to flooding should definitely prepare for the potential possibility of such. Because as the storm starts, getting closer to those islands and the rain starts kicking in, because looking at the which one do I want? I want. Which one? Hold on, let me find it. Is it this one? Yes, it's this one. Actually, I think I can get that one also here. Yes. Okay. This is pretty much showing our heaviest rains. Of course, red being the heaviest, and the blues and stuff being the lightest. So you see, based on these rains, actually, we'll stop it. Go to the very last frame because that's the most current image. You see, yeah, we're starting to see the circulation kind of breaking down a little bit, and it's funny how it's getting that flat edge. But you got to remember, there's cloud bands out here. They just don't have any rain in them. This is the first band right here that's got a little bit of rain. So as that spirals around and starts moving over the islands, we'll see, isolated showers because there's not a lot. So most of the rain is staying kind of tightly in the circle area. So it's when this area starts moving over here, and you see how big this is. It's almost, a half of a latitude line. So this storm put the center, let's say the center's right there, at the current track that it's on, once it gets over here, that center is going to pass over, this area and then into Kauai, pass over this area, topping just off of Oahu and passing, over Kauai. So all this red, that's the heaviest rain and the strongest winds. So you see how big that is. So even as it passes Maui, even though the eye may not fall, over the island, all this energy circling around to the backside is going to be dumped. So with the winds doing counterclockwise, that's the way it's pushing the storm surge. So Maui is probably going to see a little bit of a storm surging on the North Shore as well there. And definitely all the islands in there are going to see rain. Now, see here, the Big Island though, we're just missing it out. So if the only way I think we're going to see any rain at this point, anything of significant, maybe a few little tiny scattered showers here and there, but I think at this point is it's going to have to be one of these bands will have to spin off, and it's really going to have to come in and just slap us. But we're not going to see any of this bigger stuff here in the middle at this rate. It's just going to be offshore, it looks like. But with these storms do tend to wobble a little bit as they move towards the west. So it could drop down a little further, it could go a little higher. We're at that point now where every couple hours we got to take a look at it. And as we approach morning time, we're going to have to be taking a look at it, every 20-30 minutes or so, because things are going to start happening faster now because it's closer, even though it's not moving any faster. It's just one of those perception things. So Okay. Aloha, Strange Hawaii. When did you pop in? So yeah, so I'm just going to take a minute. So chat amongst yourselves. I want to go through and look at some of the recent comments. Okay, Aaron Steer is asking Maui, will rain and wind precede that approximately 8 a.m. arrival, or will they start ramping up in severity around 8 a.m. and get worse from that time? Well, the storm is moving at what, 16 miles an hour. So their time estimate of 8 a.m. is based on that momentum, that speed of the storm. But that is kind of just a rough estimate. It could be traveling a little faster, a little slower. So I would say that 8 a.m. arrival area for that part, the rain and the wind for Maui, would probably have a plus or minus. I would give it at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours on either side. Just to err on caution and give yourself plenty of time, but I wouldn't wait. If you need to prepare for anything, now is definitely the time to do it. Ah, right. Thank you so much. I just noticed that super chat for $4.99 says masks are cool. I'd love to have your designs on neck gaiters, I believe is how you pronounce it. Actually, someone mentioned that earlier, and I looked it up. Unfortunately, I don't have that item available to print on, so I can't provide it. If it wasn't for that, absolutely. Oh, Pam, it did sound like you got a little bit of a shower there. Blooming Recklessly ask Hawaii Kai Wahoo. I have ducks slash ducklings. Are they safe outside? Um, and you're on a Wahoo. Uh, if they're protected from heavy wind and rain, then they should be. Like if they're like in some type of a coop that you can close them in on, that's what I would do. But if it's open air type coop with just wire, the wind is going to blow the rain horizontal, so you need to think about that. So yeah, you need to take any precautions for any livestock outside if you're on Oahu or Kauai at this point. It's one of these things you've got to be better safe than sorry. Take a little bit of prep, or make a little bit of prep for it. What they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So that's the way I look at things, anyways. Okay. Just going back through the chat, see if I missed any questions. Doesn't look like it. I know all of y'all probably were in on the 5 p.m. and the 2 p.m. advisories. So y'all all learned everything. So if you want to learn more about them, I suggest, even though the general stats on the hurricane itself are outdated in those reports by now, they're still worth a watch because, after the main discussion of the storm itself, I have been having these little conversations about, how it's moving, why it's moving, why it's doing the things it's doing, answering people's questions that they may have. So there's a lot of good information that can be there. A lot of good information there that can be gained by watching. Oh, John, yeah, you telling me, you're speaking to the choir there on that one, brother. Yeah, after hurricanes in Florida, with everything being so wet and all the standing water, within 2 days, the mosquitoes get really bad. I'm a Florida boy, been there, lived and dealt with that. But heck, the mosquitoes in Florida, they're already bad to begin with. I know we have a running joke that the mosquitoes in Florida are so big that they can carry a cow away. Okay, I think that might cover it, everybody. I mean, there's really not much more to share or talk about at this point. Unless someone has a question. That's the only thing that's going to keep this going. Yeah, David, the Big Island did get lucky, but we already took a beating back in 2014 with Hurricane Azelle. Well, at least the east coast of the island did. The Pahoa area. I remember that one very well. No, wait, what's skeeters? Skeeters are mosquitoes. Those little flying buzzy things that like to bite you and make you itch. The ones here in Hawaii, they're stealthy. You don't hear them coming, you don't feel them land, and you don't know you've been bit until you start itching. At least the ones in Florida, you heard those puppies coming. You could hear them coming from 100 yards away. DMX is asking, how long roughly till landfall? Well, there's not going to be any landfall here on the Big Island, but it's looking like for Oahu, the eye is going to pass over the North Shore according to the track at around 8 p.m. Sunday, and by 8 a.m. Monday it will have crossed crossed Kauai as well. So I would say Kauai would then be, that's 12 hours, so split that 6, 7, 8. So I would say Kauai could probably looking for the eye crossing by 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 a.m. Monday, maybe 3, somewhere around there. It's hard to tell for sure. Again, it's one of those things with a storm, because as it starts approaching the islands, I suspect it's going to slow down just a little bit, maybe a couple miles an hour. And that's, of course, is going to make these 2 times, periods stretch out. So we'll see 8 p.m. Sunday probably end up, being 6 a.m. Monday morning, if it was to slow down. No indication that's going to do that yet, but we're going to keep watching. J-Lo, it depends on where you live in Honolulu. If you're higher in elevation and not around, any rivers or streams, actually, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if there's any rivers or streams on Oahu. I've only been there once for the Pearl Harbor stuff and to fly through the airports. So yeah, if you're in an area that is already at a risk of flooding or at a lower elevation, then yeah, there's a good possibility. So I'm just reading over some of the comments, some of the things y'all say. Blooming recklessly, they're saying the areas to be expecting storm surges could be 2 to 4 feet above normal tide levels. So look up the tide chart for your area, during the time that you're expecting the storm to be, close or closing in on you, and add 2 to 4 feet to that. So, and that may vary for the islands, depending. Like Maui probably won't see as big as a storm surge as Oahu will, and Kauai, of course. And of course, storm surges are only going to affect areas at lower elevations or depressions, that are inland but still, are connected by sea level elevation areas. The water can flood in. Actually, those areas won't drain out as fast. During Hurricane Azelle, we kind of saw that over on Kapoho area. With the storm surge that came in, it flooded the neighborhood over there, but it took days and days and days for the water to drain out, and I couldn't understand why, because you think, okay, well, it should drain right back in the ocean, but I've been dealing with some of the topology maps and stuff of the area, working on another project for graphics and things in my videos, and I noticed that area actually was separated by a slightly higher, we're talking like maybe a foot, raised area between the neighborhood and the ocean there at the tide pools, created by the older lava flows that created the area. And so it left the neighborhood in a small depression, and we're only talking maybe 6 inches to a foot lower. So when the storm surge came in and it filled it up, there was nowhere for the water to go, apparently. That's what I've learned from my personal observations of the topology of the area, etc. But anyways, that's just a side note. Okay, everybody, I think that is going to wrap this up. There is nothing new, so we will take one final look at satellite images and see if we've got any new updates. Nope. Looks like it's status quo for now. Okay, so that will do it, everybody. I so do appreciate you tuning in and watching, and for all your support, both for the Hawaiian Islands and the channel itself. I greatly appreciate it. Quick, I'm going to mention, of course, the merch. I've got the stuff over on my Redbubble account. My newest design is the super hot lava mask. Go over to Redbubble, doinghawaii.redbubble.com, or you can find links to my Redbubble store in the description below the video. But I have multiple things over there, not just masks. So if you're not interested in a face mask, that's fine. I've got prints, cards, postcards, greeting cards, magnets, a little bit of something. Find an image that you like and check to see if a product's available for it. And I do have some new things coming here real soon. Actually, I will probably launch one of the new items tomorrow. And when I say items, I don't mean necessarily a design. I mean an actual item itself with a particular designs on it. So anyways, again, mahalo for watching. I do appreciate it. And as always, you have an absolutely amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. Oh, hold on. Oh, sorry, I was reading a comment. I thought it was a question. It was more of a statement. Actually, no. Actually, 8468 Ohio. Yes, I will be doing an update again. I'm not sure what time tomorrow. I'm going to try to target for the 11 a.m. advisory. But no guarantee. If I can't make the 11 a.m., I may come in and do a live stream before the 2 p.m. advisory, but at the latest it will be 2 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. I meant to mention that before I started ending the stream. So, hey, everybody makes a mistake. That's what live YouTube's all about. So, as I was saying, again, everybody, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon and select all notifications if you want notified when I do live streams or other video content. Also, don't forget to hit that like button on your way out to show a little bit of aloha. That helps a lot. And check out the links for merch and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and website and all that good stuff. It's all down in that description below. And have a absolutely amazing morning, afternoon, or evening.